I really, really love talking about changing careers because it's been a really important part of my life. I've made two fairly significant and what I would say successful career changes. I'm going to share a bit about those with you. In fact, what I've actually done is I've actually reverse engineered the methodology that I've used to do those two career changes, thinking back about what I went through, how I would go through it now. I've put this wonderful 12-step program together. There's really 4 stages to any career change. There's 12 steps to it. We're not going to go through all that today, but we are going to talk about some aspects of that I think will give you some health and some speed to the changes that you want to make. And one other thing that I want you to realize about career changes is that the more drastic the change, the longer it's going to take, the more research you're going to need to do to make sure you're making the right decisions, the more you're going to need to lean on your network for some help. I hope you get that. And one of the things that I want to say before we kind of jump into the, some of the questions and the here's how and the stories and all that good stuff is I'm going to make a little assumption that if you are considering changing careers, whether you're going to make a wholesale change or whether you're going to make a minor career pivot or you're going to take a first little step on your way to a change, whatever the case may be, that you've done your homework, you have done some research, you've done some self-discovery about the things that are important to you, and you've made a good decision about the direction that you want to take. Because if you don't do that effectively, no career change is going to be successful. We're going to talk a little bit about that and what kind of research I'm talking about. And the other thing is if you need additional help because we're not going to cover everything here. I've got hundreds of videos out on the YouTube channel that you can go check out that are related to job searching and things of that nature. But I do have a career changer playlist with a half a dozen or so videos in it that will give you some additional insight, and one that I would call your attention to that is it doesn't matter if you're job searching or career changing but I shot a video on how to choose the right job for you. And there is a lot of self-discovery components in that. And regardless of what your goal is in this change you want to make, I would highly recommend looking at that too, because I think that will help you do your homework before you make that decision about what route to take. Okay, so that's pretty important. But let's talk about, I'm going to take you through this. We've got some backstories. We've got some questions I want to give you to ask yourselves and things that I want you to think through. But one of the things that is going to be a vital component, it's really thematic through this whole discussion that we're going to have today. It applies to everything that I'm going to say, and it's something that I never want you to lose sight of or forget as you go through any kind of change in your life, especially this kind of career change. The less stuff that you have to change in the change, the better. Because the less things that you have to change in the change, the 3 things are going to be certain. The easier the change, the greater the likelihood of success, and the faster you will be able to make that change. So I want you to keep that in mind. The less change in the change, the better. And another way that I want you to look at this, and this is what we're going to talk about today, is the number of things. If you can keep the number of things that you need to learn down to a minimum, it will be much, much easier to make that change faster. And in today's discussion, in this workshop that we're going to have, everything is going to be about speed. We don't all have to be in a hurry, but I know a lot of people want to make the change quickly. So I want to siphon this down, but this is all aimed at speed. So there are many ways to get to where you want to go. I'm even going to give you a little history of mine and what I went through, but just keep that in mind. The number of things that you have to change is going to determine the duration or the amount of time it's going to take for you to get there, And I want to talk about this, and I want to give you a couple of stories. I want to hit you with some stories really quick, boom, boom, right up front, because I want to share these stories because I think it's going to give you a better perspective of how to think through the rest of the discussion that we're going to have. Now, I mentioned that I went through a couple of career changes. Some of you might know my background, some may not, but I've gone through 2 changes in my life, and I'm going to actually talk about both of them for different purposes. But I was in my late 30s, and I had been I had an engineering degree. I got out of school. I got into information technology stuff. I was in consulting. I started developing software and designing it and managing projects. I started to grow. I started to sell that work, manage clients, businesses that were clients of my consulting firm. I would run projects, things of that nature. And as I evolved into my 30s, I started running business units where we would, sell and market and sell and deliver consulting services to other companies, a business-to-business services sale and solution that supported teaching organizations how to better optimize their business processes and use technology to do that. So that's what I was doing, but I decided I didn't love it. I really didn't love it, and I wanted to make a change. So in my late 30s, I decided I wanted to focus more on what I wanted to do. I thought about what I loved, what I enjoyed, and that was helping people. And I liked what I was doing. I just didn't love what I was doing, and I couldn't see myself doing it another 30 years. So I thought about what was it that I could do. And I went from being an IT executive to a recruiter, to a search firm owner, an executive recruiter. And while that may look like a complete left turn, I want to go back to what I just said about the number of things that you need to learn in the change. So what might look like a huge left turn, if you break this down, if we actually just take a minute and decompose what I thought, what I went through, I knew how to run a company. I'd already been running business units within my organization, so I knew how to do those things. I knew how to market services. I knew how to sell them. I knew how to deliver consulting type services in a business-to-business relationship. I didn't really know how to recruit. That was a different skill set, but I did know how to interview, which was part of the hiring and recruitment process, so I knew some of that. And if you keep thinking through the rest of the stuff that I needed to learn, let's say there were these 10 things, I already knew 9.5 of them. So there was only 5% or so of this change that I needed to learn. And while it looks very different, I'm not exaggerating for a fact, I was literally able to quit my company one day, open up a search firm the next day, because all you need is a phone and a computer at this point, and this is 2004, and I actually had a client or two before I even knew what the name of the company was going to be. Ultimately, it became Mile Walk. But the reason that I'm sharing that with you is I obviously enjoy sharing a piece of me with you, but more importantly, I want that to open your eyes, that I don't want you to miss opportunities for yourself because you think they're going to be very difficult or there's a lot for you to learn. When you really go through that self-discovery, you identify what you want to do and what you're able to do in that sequence, I think you can see that. Now, I want to talk about something that's drastically different. Let's call, the first one under the eye-opening, don't miss the opportunity category. Let's call what I'm about to tell you right now with don't be fooled by what looks similar but can take quite a long time to accomplish. So if you fast forward a number of years as I was an executive recruiter, I was learning employment, obviously hiring. Of course, I got good at looking at resumes, what those were supposed to look like, job searching, interviewing, salary negotiation. A lot of these things that some of you have been learning from me for years, others are new, but you can probably see there's tons and tons of assets out there. That subject matter, I knew that many years ago too. I did. But let's say 4 years ago, call it summer of 2015, I decided my aspirations were greater. I wanted to help more people. So I still wanted to help people. I just wanted to help more of them. And in order to do that, if I stayed a recruiter, I could only help so many people in so many companies throughout the course of a year. So I wanted to become a trainer because that was going to allow me to reach my goal of reaching and helping more people. Now, it might look quite easy to go from a recruiter to a trainer, but let's decompose this one for a second. I understood how to sell services. For 30 years, that's what I had been doing. So I understood what it was like to do that in a business-to-business environment where I could sit down across the table from you, or I can talk to you on the phone, but some way I can verbally talk to you, listen to you, understand your needs, talk about our services and how they could help. But when you look at becoming a trainer, now the buyer's different. So it's not a business, it's a consumer. It's somebody who's going to be buying something from you that is more of a product. And even though I'm teaching, we're still packaging the teaching in online training courses and other things that an individual is going to buy. Well, now there's a completely different type of sale. You market it differently. For the privilege of me to offer something to you through a medium, most of that was going to be done through email. And in order for me to have the privilege to email you, I needed you to find me. In order to do that, I needed a different marketing strategy. I had to build a social media platform and a bunch of stuff there. Had to learn how to shoot videos and all these other things that went on systems, integration, things to deliver. All of these 20 things that I needed to learn, I only knew one of them. And so what's happening is this transition through my career, which might look simple, is happening over the course of years right before your eyes. So I want you to think about that the homework that you need to do to make sure that you understand all of those things that you need to learn in order to make that change are going to determine the length of time it's going to take you in order to do this effectively. So really, really concentrate on what is it that actually needs to change. All right, so that's, I want this burned in your brain. Anybody, job changer, career changer, it makes no difference what your goal is. It makes no difference what your goal is. The number of things that I need to change. Now, let's talk about something that I actually explicitly said as I was telling you those stories. First thing that I want you to do, these are the warm-ups. I want you to just think for a second about what you want to do. I'm not talking about I need you to quit everything you're doing and go seek out your passion because that's what you're supposed to do. I'm just saying, what do you want to do? I loved helping people. I love that, right? It was an aspect of what I was doing as a consultant, and I had team members and clients and other things like that. What is it that you want to do? That's number one. That video that I mentioned about how to find the right job, that'll help you with that. The second thing that I want that is a big part of one of the 12 steps is, well, how am I going to make that happen? There's researching, there's building out your plan, there's doing things like that, but the how should come second. Don't throw in the towel. Don't let the how drive the what you want to do. This comes second. And what you're doing is you're looking for the intersection between what you want and what you are able to do, and then in that intersection, you'll build the plan of how you make that happen. Okay, so now we're getting into, well, hey, where's that speed thing you promised me? Well, this is the next three things we're going to talk about are going to all be related to speed. So if you want to go through some kind of career change, whether you wanted to do something that was a little more drastic, like my second change, or something that appeared drastic but really wasn't that big a change, like my first change, or you just want to make a minor pivot, or you're a business analyst who wants to go to be a product developer, or you're a seller who wants to be a marketer, or whatever it might be. Here's what I want you to think through. These are the questions that I want you to ask yourself, because this is what will lend speed to your ability to minimize the number of things you need to change. All right, the first thing that you ought to do, if possible, ask yourself, is there a change I can make within my existing company? So what are we talking about here? Well, you work for an organization, and if you change jobs or roles or functions or divisions or whatever it might be inside your company, generally the only thing that you would really need to learn is the new role, right? You know the company, you know the market, you know the people. Throw on all the other stuff, the incidentals like the commute. You have an idea what the political and cultural environments are like and all that good stuff. That is ideal. And if you have a longer term vision for what it is you want to do, that's okay. Maybe the first step you take is inside your organization, because you take that first step inside your organization, it's going to be a lot easier to take that second step going outside your organization. Okay? So that is the single easiest way to make that change inside the company. Well, maybe that's not possible, right? Maybe there are no openings. Maybe nobody's freeing up anything inside your company. Maybe you're not at that company any longer. Maybe you are available to watch me at 11:15 Central Time because you are on the couch at your house. That's totally okay. How about this one? Can you stay in the same market or industry? This is number 2. So in my sequence or my concatenation of questions here, this is what I would do second. So if I want to make a change, and I can't do it inside my company, is there another organization that's in my space, or market doesn't just necessarily need to be within industries, like I'm in healthcare, I got to go to healthcare. I'm in financial services, I go to another financial services. It could be solution line. Maybe you are a business analyst who understands the SAP software product and the materials management and inventory aspects of this. Maybe you could find another opportunity to become a product developer, an integration analyst, or whatever in another organization who's using a different industry that's using that same solution type. So, I literally just thought of this as I was pouring my coffee, an example of a client that we worked with for like 10 years. Loved this client. They were a hardware and software and services technology vendor, consulting vendor. Basically, infrastructure and networking was really their bread and butter. They did work in a variety of industries, but about half of what they did, to 60%, was in the healthcare space, and even more niche-y related to hospitals. Okay, so not necessarily the payer, but the provider. What they would do is they would actually seek out people that were subject matter experts in hospitals, administrators, nurses. We used to literally recruit people and say, hey, you interested in making a change, from nursing to you want to be on the sales team to support, scoping out the solution or thinking up, how creatively these guys could build solution lines that support hospitals. What do they need? So that happens a lot. You sell financial services vehicles, you want to sell technology vehicles, sell them to financial services companies. That's what I'm talking about. So these are other ways of looking at, is there something I can stay within, kind of a lane, a swimming lane, so to speak, and not have to make that many changes. So those nurses had to learn a little bit more about, the business of selling technology solutions to hospitals. But my guess is they were probably dealing with some of that. They certainly understand the processes inside the hospital. Those are a lot easier transitions than you would imagine if you have the right pedigree. Sure, if a nurse doesn't have that selling aspect or that aspect to actually interact in that capacity from a business to business relationship, it might not work. But this is what I want you thinking about, that market could be market, industry, solution line, or whatever. So believe me, companies, they value this. Your competitors, or your company's competitors, I should say, will value your insider knowledge of that market, and that company. So that's the other one. Now, this third one, it's number 3, but it might be my favorite. So along the lines of networking, this is a subsector of networking, but this should be at the top of your networking bucket. So it's not just who do I know, and let me look at people. These are very specific people I want you to look at. And I want you to look at people you used to work with. People you used to work with. People you used to work with. This is a subset of networking. Why are these people so valuable in a career change? Let's think about this. If somebody worked with you 10 years ago, and maybe you were in a different capacity, you were a business analyst, and you want to become a product development specialist, or you want to be the product development owner, doesn't really matter. If somebody knows you through work and knows your awesome work ethic and knows how brilliant and bright and the star that you are and how funny you are and all that good stuff, they are going to be the best people that can pull you in or network with you to get you to the right people into their organizations. Now, those people that you used to work with are probably scattered all over the place. But if they remember you fondly, or even if you worked with them briefly, I would reach out to them. If I was going to go back and take a corporate COO job or something of that nature, I would go call all my friends that I used to work with 20 years ago at one of the consulting companies. We were 100 when I started. We were 450 at one point. There are a lot of people that I know who understand that I had worked in various capacities that would have conditioned me and given me the experience to do those kind of things, even though I've been away from it for a long time. If I wanted to change back to something like that. So these are people that you need to lean on. So normally when I'm teaching programs, I'm teaching workshops, I'm shooting videos, I always say, I want you to be targeted in your networking. And by targeted, I mean I'd rather you decide where you want to go first and then find the route to get there. So don't just go calling people and networking, because that could be a waste of time. I would rather you know where you're going and then find the route to get there through people. In this case, for people who are trying to make career changes, and even job seekers, just people that want to change companies but stay in the same role type, I would still call people that would be like my third wave. Everybody that I used to work with, get all their email addresses, get connected with them on LinkedIn. I don't care where you find them, on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or wherever, where you should all be connected with me. But these people are going to be vital. So let's just recap it, right? Be thoughtful and open-minded about the possibilities. All right, that was my first lesson to you. Secondly, I want to make sure that you research and you really know what the number of things you need to change is. So don't just think you're going to quit your accounting job to become a trainer. You got like 19 things you got to learn. But for most of you who are looking to change careers, who will likely go from one organization to another organization, within your company first, within the market second, and then who did I used to work with, and contact those people third. That is what will help you make the career change or the career pivot the fastest. All right, I hope that serves you.